my dear friends, and welcome back to another video. So just before we dive into The Mandalorian Season 3, I want to share with you a pretty obscure rumour. According to a popular post on the Gaming Leaks and Rumours subreddit that's amassed quite a bit of attention, there is a Pikmin-style Ewoks game in development at Lucasfilm. You heard me right, a game centered around Ewoks. The original post states it's not going to be a mobile game but rather one for consoles. Needless to say, it's just a rumour and take this with a huge grain of salt, but as some fans have noted, it sounds just weird enough to be credible, too obscure to be made up, and considering this year 2023 marks the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, I can imagine this being announced at the games panel at Star Wars Celebration. But unfortunately, that is the extent of this rumour, and we don't know the name of the undisclosed company the source works at. As I say, it's so out of left field that many fans think it might be real. These types of rumours end up being true more often than you'd think, especially in the gaming sphere. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Would you play a game centered around Ewoks? We do have some huge news for Mando, but first of all, our first leaks for Andor Season 2. As Bespin Bulletin revealed a month ago, the Andor show Andor Season 2 is filming in Valencia in Spain. While now, thanks to the Twitter account Graham, we have our first leaked footage. We see stormtroopers walking across the university by the water, and if you look very closely, the robed figure is Luthen Rael. Tony Gilroy has told us that the Andor show is about to get bigger and better. The season builds up to Rogue One, and that means a lot more familiar faces. Not to mention, as Collider reported, we're gonna see Yavin 4, and possibly other familiar planets too. This is going to be amazing. As you guys know, I'm such a big fan of this series, I miss it every day. And speaking of Cassian, according to early predictions from Variety and Gold Derby, Andor can get a Best Drama Series nomination at the Emmys. It definitely deserves it. I know it's got its detractors, but for me this flavour of Star Wars really is the way. And so now my dear friends, the big news of the day. Brendan Wayne, the Mandalorian stunt double, has teased what is still to come in the second half of Season 3. Talking to Star Wars Sessions podcast, who by the way are friends of this channel, Brendan Wayne discussed a number of key points about what's in store for viewers with the remaining 4 episodes. For starters, if you thought Chapter 19 a week and a half ago was out of the ordinary, he says Chapter 21, the 5th episode on Wednesday, is gonna take an even greater turn. The next one is very different to the rest and explores an entirely new genre. Here's what he said. So they tried to give you something different to work with in this show, and this season was no exception, and you'll see it in the next episode. You're gonna see something very different than you've seen in its presentation, and so, it's amazing. And as far as the episodes still to come go, Wayne's personal favourite has not yet aired, and he also hypes up the finale. For different reasons, different episodes have a lot of meaning, whether it's the enjoyment of the cast that came in for this episode, or the director I get to work with, or the story point I get to uphold in this moment. I don't think I've had my favourite episode air yet. There are some things that happen in the final episode that are pretty epic. Now just before we move on to his following comments, it's worth pointing out the next episode, Chapter 21, is by definition going to be a bit different. The amazing Peter Ramsey is directing the next one, and his style of directing, whether it's Spider-Man, whether it's Rise of the Guardians, whatever he's working on is unique. It's his first venture into the galaxy far, far away, so I imagine that's why Wayne is saying it's going to be a bit different. And he also talks about Chapter 22, directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. Here's what he said. I did get to work with Bryce again, and that is one of the highlights always. As a creator, as a fan of her pedigree, as a fan of the work I've been able to reach that she's brought to me, working with Bryce is one of my favourite things in the world. Brendan also praised working with Lee Isaac Chung, but one of the most important parts of this interview was teasing an upcoming scene with Bo-Katan and Din Djarin. He says, quote, there's a scene coming up with Bo and Mando, and it is, I don't know which version they chose as far as what was going on back and forth, but a lot of varying emotions came here and there, but there's something about that scene, the do-si-do that we had, while physical and verbal, was super intense, and I think that's going to be really cool. I think you're going to enjoy it. Now when he mentions physical and verbal, is he talking about possible romance or romantic tension between the two characters? I really think so, and while I don't think such a thing is necessary, there are lots of fans who ship, as they say, Bo and Din together, and some fans say the two work well as a royal couple that eventually rules Mandalore. Now here is another huge quote from Brendan. He talks about the return of Boba Fett, which some fans have interpreted as a tease for his big return, possibly later on in Season 3. He says, quote, Boba Fett is the best kind of friend you can ever have. You know you can count on the guy when you need him, and sometimes you don't even know you need him and he comes. So the big question from this is, will Boba Fett come into the picture? Is he gonna save the day? Could the Mythosaur be foreshadowing of sorts? That is the emblem he wears. As the armor told us, the Mythosaur belongs to all Mandalorians, and Jango Fett, his dad and donor, was a foundling. So could Boba Fett in some way be part of the Mythosaur and Mandalore subplots? And so finally for this interview, Brendan Wayne reveals that just like for the first 2 seasons, George Lucas visited the set for season 3. Some really awesome reveals. Brendan Wayne is awesome. He's part of the trio that makes up Din Djarin, Pedro Pascal, Brendan Wayne, and Lateef Crowder. And so now, my dear Mandalorians, staying on the subject of The Mandalorian, Ahmed best spoke with StarWars.com about his massive return to the Star Wars universe as Kelleran Beq. We finally know who saved Grogu from Order 66, but in this interview, he teases what's in store for Kelleran's future. Are we going to see more flashbacks in the show? Some fans say no, I say yes. I think we're going to see where he took him next, and as I put forward in my theory video the other day, I think that place is Naboo. But this is what Ahmed best said: I want everyone who watches Star Wars to look at Kelleran Beq and go, I believe that guy, I want to follow that guy, where does he go, what happens next? I think all the best stories are stories that leave you wondering what happens next. I don't want this to be the end of Legacy, I don't want this to be the end of the story, I want this to be the beginning, a new beginning, especially through Kelleran Beq. It was such a huge moment for Ahmed to return, especially after the backlash he received after playing Jar Jar Binks. Now, Ahmed Best's comments raised the possibility of a Beq story to continue. Could we see him in other shows? As I said, the possibility of more flashbacks in The Mandalorian, but it would be awesome if he was featured in a bigger way, in his own story, a spin-off show. Jedi Temple Challenge was a lot of fun, but there is so much more potential for his character in a meaningful canon show. A show where he can be just as much of a badass as he was in the last episode, where he can show off his Jar-Kai. And so finally, my dear friends, something truly epic. One of the most exciting rumors of 2022 was that Darth Vader is going to appear in the Ahsoka show. Hayden Christensen, already confirmed to be involved, is presumably playing Anakin and Darth Vader in flashbacks, and in the present day, Anakin's Force ghost. But a new report from Making Star Wars confirms what a lot of fans theorized, that the Malachor duel between Ahsoka and Vader from Star Wars Rebels is going to be adapted for live action. Very exciting stuff indeed. There is a very good chance this flashback takes place in the world between worlds. We know the show is going to bring that concept back. We also know that Dave Filoni is going to explore the trauma Ahsoka's built up over the years, overcoming the loss of Anakin to the dark side. But there's good news. If they show us the first time she meets Luke, I'm sure he's going to tell her that a former master and his father was redeemed in the end, and I would love that to lead to Ahsoka interacting with Anakin's Force ghost. How incredible would that be? So share your thoughts on everything we spoke about in today's video. If you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and as always, if you want more videos that you can't find here on YouTube, then click the link down there in the description. But until the next one, guys, may the Force be with you always.